Okay, this is a short recording that's going to go back over our issues of forward engineering a MWB file. We just did this in our lecture and ran into a versioning error. So I believe this is for our assignments um, number, well, let's double check. I believe this is for our recent assignment. And I'll check it in our dashboard. So the assignment that this is concerning in this particular class is, I think, exercise number in class exercise number 12. Now you're asked to download this data and the MWB file specifically and save everything. So there's a trick to forward engineering the MWB file. And let me show you that. I'm going to start up my SQL workbench and let me resize it to fit. So in my SQL workbench, and I'll click on the local connection. Now we're going to start out fresh. If you had any schemas from your previous attempt, just right click on those schemas and drop it if there's a Cocoa shop there. What I want you to do is go over here and say File and say Open Model. Now, on my desktop, I created a folder, and I think your instructions are to create a folder to put all of the Cocoa Shop files in. And I just called my folder TCS. So here's the MWB file. I think I called it Cocoa underscore store underscore one. And I'm going to open that file. And it's going to show you the ERD diagram. And I'll close both of these. And this diagram works fine. And remember, when you're loading tables, you want to load tables that have no dependencies first, or tables that, if they do have dependencies, you have already loaded the tables. For instance, wholesale transactions. It cannot be loaded until the tables dependent on it are loaded. And table customers cannot be loaded until the tables dependent on it are loaded. And green means something depends on you. You've got to take care of that first. Blue means you depend. Blue means, let's see if I can find it. There we go. Blue means that there's a couple of tables depending on you. You don't depend on them, they depend on you. Green means that you depend on these tables. So in the case of this example, wholesale line item depends on having product table already loaded, and it depends on having wholesale transactions already loaded. So be careful of that. Work your way out from tables that only have blue inside, and whenever you do see a table that has greens, which means I depend on those other tables being installed. So I'm just mentioning that. If you go and look at my Zoom lecture, you'll see how I define it. But here's what we have to do. We're going to go to Model over here, and it says Model, and click on Model Options, and this is the trick. There was a keyword error that we had to resolve in order to make the forward engineer work. In Model Options, click on MySQL and go down here to the bottom and uncheck Use Defaults from Global Settings. Now, go all the way up here and backspace over the 3.0 so that you only show 5.6, because there is a modification in 5.6.3 that messed up our forward engineer. Click on OK. Now I want you to forward engineer this. Go to Database and go to Forward Engineer. Don't change any of the settings in the first screen, just click Next. Don't change any of the settings here, just click Next. Don't change any of the settings here. These tables are the ones that are going to be imported. Just click Next. Here's the actual script. If you want to see how this script works, you can certainly copy it to clipboard or save it to a file to look at it. In the past, MySQL 5.6 allowed us the use of the visible keyword. However, we're now going to fix that, and it's taking away the visible keyword. So click on, I'm just showing this to you. So click on Next. We didn't do anything in this screen. And the forward engineer is successful. So we can close that. All right, I'm done. I can close my EER diagram. I can close my model. I don't need to save it. Now I'm all the way back here to local instance. Refresh your local instance, and you will now see CocoShop, and you'll see all of the tables. If you want to see the relationship between these tables, take a look at, and you can open the model back up again if you'd like. So I'm going to go to File, Open Model, just for us to be able to view it. Open up the Coco Store model. Now the model's open, and I'm going to close this window, and I'm going to close this window right there, so I can use that model to sort of help me see what depends on what. I'm looking for tables that only have a blue. In other words, this table here, transportation, is blue. That means another table depends on me, but I don't depend on any other table. So I can load that first. So transportation can be loaded in. And I've got, if you look at my folder, and I think I've got it here. Yeah, there it is. My TCS folder. I've got all the files that I downloaded. And I do have, and I don't open these up. I do have transportation. So what I'll do, I'll leave the diagram open. I don't have to worry about the model. I'll go over here to my local instance, and I'm going to right click on CocoShop, and I'm going to do a table data import wizard. Remember, we said transportation was one of the tables that only had a blue line, so we start with those. Let me browse. And I'm going to browse to my desktop, to my folder that I saved everything in. And I'm going to say, okay, transportation. That's the file I'm going to open up. And I'm going to import it. So I'm going to import that CSV file into this new schema that I forward engineered. And as I recall, it's the transportation method. There it is. Now that I think I have them matched up right, I'm going to say next. And sure enough, the data that's in my CSV file down here has a truck ID and a truck type, and it does match up with that table that I built. Truck ID is field truck ID, and truck type is field truck type. So I guess I did pick the right table in my schema that does match with the CSV file that I'm importing. And I'll say next, and I'll say next, and it did import. Click on next, and it did import the 3 records, and finish. And if you want to make sure that works, you can go into transportation method, click on the tiny little spreadsheet icon, and it does show you. Yep, I got that stuff imported. So we'll close that, and we'll close that. Now I'll go back up here to my diagram and look. So I've got transportation, and I could do that first, because even though another table depends on having transportation already loaded, transportation doesn't depend on any other table. How about shipping options? Another table depends on shipping options, but shipping options doesn't have any greens going out. So I can do shipping options next. I'll go back to my local instance. I'll right-click on Cocoa Shop. I will go to Table Data Import Wizard. And this time I'll browse and pick shipping. These are my shipping options. I'll click next. I will say use existing table and match that up with shipping options. Say next. It looks like I found the right match. Shipping ID, shipping type, delivery days, and shipping fee. I think I found the right type. Click next, and click next. 6 records imported, and click finish. And here again, if you want to check, you can go back to local instance, go to shipping method, click on the little icon that does a select statement, and it does show my 6 shipping methods. Okay, I'm going to stop here. I will close my EER diagram. I can always open that back up. I'm going to close my model, and I'm going to close my SQL workbench. That means if you use this to help you get started, and then look at my Zoom video, that should get you the rest of the way into importing all of the data in this database and finishing the assignment. Thank you.